The spread of COVID-19 has dramatically altered the way we both live and now, unfortunately, how we die in America. We reached out to you, our viewers, to hear your stories about those who have lost loved ones to both COVID-19 and other illnesses. Amna Nawaz looks at the process of grief for people in isolation.
He was an absolute wonderful, kind person.
She was like 4'11", and she would not hold back on telling people what she thought.
He would always say, well, a better day is coming. You just got to keep living.
The memory of her father makes Kimberly Reese smile today, even though the pain of losing him in early April to COVID-19 still lingers.
I wake up every day with this emptiness and trying to figure out, how do I fill that void?
Hospital rules during the pandemic prevented the tight-knit family in New Orleans from saying goodbye to 75-year-old Wayne Reese Sr.
What was it like in those final days when you weren't even allowed to be by his bedside?
I think that was the hardest part. My dad was there for everybody, and that was heartbreaking not being there for him.
Not being able to touch him and talk to him, that's gonna probably haunt us really for the rest of our lives.
It's an ache Kia Steele of Edina, Minnesota knows all too well.
I think that time of being with someone when they're passing away is very sacred.
But she couldn't be with her friend, Clark Ozanicki, who died of COVID-19 earlier this month. She was also unable to see her uncle, Mike Tracy, and her grandmother, Dee Swaggart, both of whom died in nursing homes within days of each other from Alzheimer's.
I really wanted to be there with my dad, and we got word that only he could go visit her. That was probably the hardest part of this whole week, not being able to be in the room with him and really let that grief kind of be free and open and vulnerable with him.
For thousands of Americans laying loved ones to rest during a time of social distancing, the goodbyes are not what they'd imagined.
The social ritual of holding your loved one's hands while they die and your grief at a viewing at a funeral is so fundamental to the human species.
Nicole Hybrader has worked as both a hospice nurse and an end-of-life doula, helping people prepare for how they wish to die.
We are tribal people, and that is how our species has evolved. And to have that taken away from people, I really feel is going to cause a lot of long-term grief that is going to need a lot of help processing.
Pete Wasserman's grandmother, Gerda, died earlier this month from natural causes, just weeks shy of her 100th birthday.
My grandmother's brother, mother, father were all killed in the Holocaust. She worked in a slave labor camp in Latvia for her teenage, young adult years, then came to the United States when she was about 25 after the war.
The family had planned for a traditional Jewish funeral, but New Jersey rules banning large gatherings blocked that memorial.
We'd imagined like this, coming together a family to honor her in that way. And so we were robbed of that a little bit.
A cruel carryover of COVID-19, funerals can fuel the spread of the virus. A February service in Albany, Georgia is thought to have sparked an outbreak, leading to nearly 1,500 cases today and more than 100 deaths. Funeral homes across the country have responded with new restrictions, defining a new reality in how America mourns.
I never in my lifetime thought I would ever have to experience a pandemic right here, up close and personal.
Lanier Levitt helps run 5 funeral homes in Atlanta. Just a few weeks ago, he says a typical service hosted up to 250 people. Today, no more than 10 are allowed.
Life is different now for us and our funeral homes and the way we're conducting funerals. The inability for families to properly give the type of send-off that they are accustomed to giving.
In New York State, the epicenter of the U.S. outbreak, funeral workers are struggling to keep up.
Funeral homes are overwhelmed, and there is no number. People are dying, and we're running out of space in all the funeral homes.
Grief feels isolating in the best of times, and when we're already isolated even more right now, it feels even more so.
Carrie Bukovich, who lives in Richmond, California, has put memorial plans on hold after her father, David Lindstrom, died recently of complications from dementia.
There are so many people that my dad loved, who loved my dad, that don't have a space to say goodbye.
To allow some grief to be shared and safely, some facilities are now offering drive-up funerals, walk-through viewings, and live-streamed services.
Probably 30% of our families would choose to live stream their services prior to the pandemic, but now about 80% of the families are choosing to live stream these. And so that's been an added benefit.
That was a silver lining for Pete Wasserman. He bid farewell to his grandmother over video conference with a rabbi, family, and friends, all dialed in from Michigan, Nevada, and Germany.
All these people that ordinarily would not have been able to join were able to join, and in that way it was really nice, really like heartening that so many people cared.
Though he admits he's not sure what his grandmother would make of it all.
If she knew that we had to do a virtual service for her funeral, her mind would have been blown, just quite simply. Like I remember when we told her that she was on the internet, she was like, how did I get on the internet? Like, get me out of there.
Hybrader says this moment, difficult as it is, provides a chance for open and honest conversations with loved ones.
A way of dealing with that is saying to them, well, I understand that you may not want to talk about your end of life wishes, but would you mind listening to mine? And usually what happens is that once they hear you being vulnerable and talking about the things that you would want or the things that you would not want, it kind of opens them up to also start having that dialogue.
Kimberly and Wayne Reese Jr. say they know their dad would not want a lot of fuss, and they did hold a small gathering under new funeral rules.
If it was just a regular funeral, that church would have been packed 3 times over.
The family is already looking towards a new day and making plans for that moment.
When the city does open up, we will have a memorial to celebrate his legacy, just in a different way, in a different time. He'll get his due.
A chance to gather in grief and celebration for the moment on hold. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Amna Nawaz.